I'm Elliot Trotter, live here in Sarasota, Florida for the 2011 Club Championships. I'm joined by our Open Division reporters, Tyler Kinley, Zach Smith, and Ian Toner. Thanks for joining us once again, guys.
Glad to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Oh.
We're not on? Okay, here we go.
All right, here we go again. Did you hear about any of the mixed scores at all? I don't know. You know who won the Ghost game?
7 figures by a bunch. I think it's 15-12.
What? Really?
Where is mine?
It was 8-4 at half.
8-4, 7 figures?
Yeah, at half, yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
How'd you do?
We won by, I think it was like 15-9 or something.
Congrats. Where is mine? That's huge.
What's up? I'm the best. I'm speaking.
I'm in the middle. Means something important.
Yeah, it does. We both look at you. You're gonna wrap it up.
And that's it.
That's not a wrap up. You stay classy, San Diego. You want to be in this? You just.
I gotta go. We gotta start now. But I do.
Yeah, for sure.
You're more important.
Good luck. Who are you matched up in? You have Tanazi. On camera. Yeah, that's equivalent. Those terms are interchangeable. I said, coming to this humble. Just the D-line mentality. Prasad. Team suck too.
That was hilarious.
You want to do sunglasses on?
Welcome to Sarasota, Florida for the 2011 Club Championships. I'm Elliot Trotter with Skyd Magazine. Club Championships are brought to you by USA Ultimate, as is our coverage. And we're live in Breakmark gear, right next to the Breakmark tent. So, let's talk about what's been going on. We have our Open Division reporters here, Tyler Kinley, Zach Smith, and Ian Toner. Here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So, gents, tell me what you've been seeing in this first round of play.
Okay, so the first round, Zach and I stopped by the Truck Stop Tanazi game. That was, I believe, a B2, B4 matchup. Tanazi's offense was looking pretty good when they were able to get the disc to run through Markham Schaffner. But once the disc was out of his hands, if his hucks weren't being completed or if they couldn't get it to him, they were turning the disc over pretty frequently on dumps, simple drops, and Truck Stop's D-line offense was looking very efficient. Wouldn't you say, Zach?
Absolutely. The thing about Tanazi, they went down early. Truck Stop got a really, really early break on them. And they started doing a horizontal sack with a really consistent offense, and it worked for them. They got a break back, and then they just kind of started taking more deep shots. And like Ian said, if Markham Schaffner wasn't the one putting it, it was often a bad choice or just a bad execution play. So they went down on 8-4 at half, and we started roaming elsewhere.
So Truck ended up coming on top in that game?
Yes.
Handily?
Yes.
All right. And did they look like they were stressing themselves or pushing themselves to any limits, or just kind of running routine?
I felt like they were trying to pick up the defensive intensity as the game went along. Zach and I were talking about how they might have thrown themselves out on a few late bids that weren't dangerous, but they were just trying to get everyone into the game and get everyone there physically. So I think maybe defensively they were testing themselves and warming themselves up, but offensively they looked very smooth with things running through Alan Kolick and Kevin Moldenhauer and Jonathan Neely on the D-line offense.
Okay. So after you roamed away from that game, where did you move to?
We saw a little bit of Ring and Southpaw.
Yes.
We were talking about how Southpaw's handler movement wasn't quite what it was at regionals. They had people who were designated to be the dumps, but once they were shut down, they weren't clearing and allowing the next option to come in. And Ring was doing a great job taking away those first and second looks. So Ring was able to get the breaks they needed and win handily. Tyler, I understand you caught the first half of Revolver and Goat.
Yeah, I got to the fields early, and I got to talk to the GOAT captain a little bit, and leader. He was talking about how they wanted to go into the game conservatively. He thought that Revolver would think that they would just look to bomb it, so therefore they'd try to turn the tables a little bit, look for the more conservative, patient dump swing movement. And then on defense, try to really focus on shutting down guys like Robbie Cahill, putting I think it was Carroll on on Goat on Robbie specifically.
And how did that matchup work out in the first half?
It went well. As I watched, Revolver got a break or two, but never ran away with it. And I wasn't sure what to expect, but Goat was resilient. They stayed in the game. And I talked to Rio from Revolver, who I just asked, what's your take on Goat? What do you think they're doing well? And he specifically said their marks were great, and their patient, conservative dump swing offense was actually working quite well. So interestingly enough, the goal that they set was working well for them in the first half.
Okay. And see, that's interesting because Zach and I walked up when it was about 10-9 Revolver in the second half, and we didn't exactly see that patience, did we, Zach?
Well, when we first walked up, we happened to walk up just as Goat was getting a break to tie the game. And like Ian said, they traded points. I think it became 11-11, and then typical Revolver, they turned it on, they picked up their defense, and Goat's conservatism, their patience kind of went out the door. The wind picked up a little bit. They tried, there was one play in particular, Mark Lloyd threw an upline pass. The wind just picked it up, and who was it? John Levy?
John Levy
just got huge.
Yes.
And he made that D and another late D and helped Revolver get some pretty important late breaks. And I think Revolver cruised on a 4-point run to win it.
Yes, that's correct.
So we've got Revolver over Goat, Furious over Southpaw, and
Ring over Southpaw.
Ring over Southpaw.
Excuse me. And did you guys see any other games? He said Truck Stop over Tenacity.
Yes, we also saw, I believe the score ended up being 15-10, but we saw Ironside and Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero was definitely playing, pretty well. They were working it. Ironside, we spoke to John Hirschberger at the end of the game. He was walking up to us while we were watching the Revolver game, and he said that Sub-Zero were definitely bringing it. Ironside was definitely having to, go full throttle to beat them. We also saw Oakland having a very, very hard time against Double Wide. I think the score ended up being like 15-6 or 15-7. Just the size of Double Wide is absolutely out of control.
When you have players like Alex Thorne going up against defenders like Cameron Bond, I mean, there's at least a 6-inch size difference there, and it was very difficult for Oakland to easily get around or just generally move around the mark and get the throws that they wanted to get. So I think that was their death knell.
We also saw Chain versus Madison.
Yes.
There was a little bit of a back and forth, but I think Chain walked away with that one kind of. I think they had a pretty big cushion. So
the story of the round, as I understand, is the Furious Machine game.
Oh yeah,
and
certainly.
Tyler, you were watching that game. So what happened there?
Oh god, that was the game to watch for sure in this first round in the Open Division. It began as a story of just unforced errors. Machine went up 5-1 on a turn on an easy end zone catch by Rory Deep that he just sort of doinked it. And I'm sure he wishes he had that one back. There was a too high swing throw from Luke Smith. There was an upline throw too far, and they just put themselves in a hole. Nothing was systemic. It was just execution errors. Then they got back riding Furious's unforced errors. Furious had just a normal drop. Menzies had a drop pull. There were a couple of miscommunications. One was on a dump that was thrown to a swing where the dump cutter went up line, and then another was an undercut that was hucked deep. And immediately the game gets back 6-6. Both teams started to ramp up intensity a little bit. Neither team's defense looked that good, and they were both sort of figuring each other out. Since having talked to both teams beforehand, Morgan Hibbert on Furious and Mike Scheel on Machine, neither of them really knew what to expect. And so there was a lot of figuring each other out, see what you do, work it out. And the defense was playing less, lockdown and more, what are they going to do? How are they going to try to beat us?
Were the teams, in terms of playing style, were they similar? Was the way that they moved their offense similar?
No. I would say Furious has a system built in. They know what they're going to do. They have certain plays that they run every single time, and it's a well-orchestrated, well-choreographed offense that gives really good spacing downfield, and they actually look at downfield cuts for a very long time. Machine is a bit different in that they've got a tight O-line, and a lot of it goes through the really good resets, break throws, and dump throws of Dane Olsen. That's right. He's been playing great for them, and he was the key to victory. So Furious takes half, 8-7. The second half was probably the polar opposite in terms of unforced errors. It might have been bad decisions, but it was also just great intensity. I think there were 4 total points that were in the second half from both, including both teams, that were 0 turnover points. There may have been 3, maybe even just been 2. It was a highlight reel filled second half. I'm sure if you talk to Furious, their take on the second half is they played well, but the observers just screwed them out of the game.
There were observers in this game.
There were observers in this game, and there were 2 specific calls. One was on an upline throw to Andrew Brown, where Andrew Sheehan on Machine pressured the throw well. He made it a tough throw to make. It went up line, and Andrew Brown on Furious, I'm sure, thought he towed it in. He dragged his back foot and his front foot. I'm sure he thinks hit the ground before he caught it. However, the observer immediately, standing feet away, called him out. Andrew Brown shocked. A couple turns later, Machine gets the break.
It's interesting.
Oh my God!
It's interesting that you bring that up. Just to interrupt you for 1 second, because there was an important break in the Revolver Goat game where Josh Wiseman threw a flick up the right sideline to Jonathan Hester, and he towed the line. Hard to tell from our perspective. And Goat was absolutely adamant that he was out. Revolver was adamant that he was in and everyone on Revolver claimed best perspective, and there were no observers in that game. So the break stood. And I believe that made it 12-11.
Yeah, that was when it started. So.
That was the start of the spring breaks. But anyways, back to the Furious Machine game.
So looking at this Furious Machine game, obviously it was possibly the most exciting open matchup so far. But this is the first round. How does that play out in later rounds today for both those teams?
Well, that is going to be a really good pool to watch. One thing I noticed is I was curious about Machine's late game sub calling. There's a couple guys on the team that really got stuff done, and they didn't sub them in, say like a Dane onto the D line. It ended up paying off, and that could pay dividends. Just even those last late game legs can pay dividends against the Machine. In any case, it'll be interesting to see how that pool plays out. It could go any way. I think Southpaw could find a rhythm against Machine, who's been shown to go up and down. I think Furious could come back and win a 3-way tie. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. One to watch.
So, if you guys are ready to look at next round, let's see what games you guys are excited about, what you think will be important for round 2.
I'll take the lead on that one. The first one that I'm interested in seeing is one of the ones, I believe it lost the USA Streaming Showcase matchup. It's Johnny Bravo versus Goat. Bravo is coming off a relatively easy game against the last-seeded Condors. We watched a few points of that game, and to be frank, Condors was kind of giving Bravo a lot of turns, even when Bravo were turning the disc over in the first place. So I'm interested to see if Bravo can clamp down, and I want to see if Goat can respond to a tough loss against a good team. So that's the game I'm going to be watching. Zach, what about you?
I'm probably going to be watching the exact same game, but the definitely a couple other games to watch is certainly, I don't know if you're planning on hanging over to this, but the Ring of Fire versus Machine. Is it Ring of Fire Machine?
Yeah, I think it is.
So that's going to be, that has huge implications.
Yeah, another win for Machine.
Another win for Machine, and especially,
it does mean something big. That would put them right in the power pool.
Exactly. Yep. And I know that the game that won the vote for the USA Streaming was the Truck Stop Sub-Zero game. And while Truck Stop looks very good, according to Ironside, Sub-Zero looks pretty good too. So that could be a very close match, and in a pool that has Ironside in it, the winner of that game could take the second slot to power pools.
It's true.
So we're going to focus on the Johnny Bravo Goat, but there's plenty of great games happening this round.
What are the other games going on?
Well, it looks like most of the games this round are D1, either 1 versus 4 matchups or 2 versus 3 matchups. So definitely another good game to watch could be the Chain Lightning Oakland game. Oakland losing tough to Double Wide. They can try to bounce back and play, better. They might have a better height matchup with Chain Lightning than they would against Double Wide. And then double wide Madison, you never know what Madison could bring. Hector Valdivia is a great player, and you never know what he could bring to the game. He could be the difference maker in the game against double wide.
So Pool D could be exciting.
Absolutely.
Other rounds? We're going to see Revolver matched up on Condors, and that's the other Pool A games, and then Ironside Tanasi. Those ones could be interesting, but it's going to take a big effort.
Yeah, I'm also interested in seeing how well Furious can recover against Southpaw.
Yeah.
Southpaw is a very well-structured and well-organized team, and if they can take a good look at where they went wrong in this last game, I wouldn't be surprised if they put together a respectable showing against Furious.
But maybe a win or no?
Win's asking a lot. I think Furious is going to realize...
Furious plays well mad. I have Furious in that one.
Yes, absolutely.
Any other predictions, guys, for this next round?
Predictions on those key matchups. I'm going to say Goat takes down Bravo. I don't think Bravo's offense is where it needs to be right now.
I'm gonna have Truck Stop beating Sub-Zero, despite their effort and despite players like Eric Johnson. I think Truck Stop is better structured and they have more talent.
Yeah, they're definitely a deeper team.
But I certainly think that's gonna be a very exciting game. And I'm gonna go. I'm gonna take despite Machine on a high right now. I'm gonna take Ring of Fire over Machine.
Interesting. Tyler, who do you have in Ring Machine?
Ring Machine, I have Ring.
Okay.
I've seen them at their best, and they look really, really good. They played a complete game against Sockeye. Machine's coming off of a great win. It's hard to duplicate it both mentally and physically. It'll be tough.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll look forward to what you guys have to say in our next update show for the
Excited.
Open Division. Tyler Kinley, Zach Smith, and Ian Toner reporting for Sky.
Thanks, Elliot.
Thanks, Elliot.
Thanks, Elliot.
We'll be back with with the women's division.